Today we're going to talk about how to host your first paint party. If this is something you've been thinking about doing and maybe you've just been a little intimidated by the thought of gathering a bunch of people into your home and being the art teacher and having to teach everybody how to paint the project, let me just assure you right now that if you've painted anything before, even just one door hanger, you can host a paint party. I say this because for the people who've never painted a door hanger before, they are super intimidated by this project, and just having a person there to guide them step by step through the project helps take a little bit of that off. So they're probably not expecting you to be the best artist they've ever seen. More than likely, they're just looking to you to say, I think that's a good paint color to use, or this is probably the paintbrush I would use, or start with this part and then do that part. And so they just want somebody who feels a little more confident than they do about completing this project. So don't talk yourself out of hosting your first paint party. If this is something you have even thought about doing, I want to encourage you right now to just do it. Once you get that one party under your belt, you're going to feel so much more confident and encouraged to do more parties. So first up, what is a paint party? Like, what is a paint party? Is it where people bring a bunch of paintbrushes and they paint on your walls? No. A paint party in my world is bringing everybody together to paint something to hang on your front door, a door hanger. Now, there are lots of different places that provide paint parties for painting on canvas and things like that. So obviously that's an option too. But here at Southern Adornments Decor, it's all about the door and hanging up a door hanger. And I have gone to parties in the past where we painted on canvas and I brought it home and I was like, I don't know if I love this enough to hang it on the wall. You know what I mean? But painting a door hanger is different because you hang it on your front door and then you close the door and you're not sitting on your couch watching TV and glancing up at it every 5 seconds on your wall. So if that's been something you've struggled with in the past, I want you to give door hanger painting a try. So paint a paint party. What is a paint party? You're going to bring these people together. Maybe it's in your home. It could be in your church fellowship room. It could be in the party room at the local restaurant. It could even be in a friend's house if they've got a larger space, or out in a garage. Pretty much anywhere that you're not going to worry too much if a little bit of paint gets dropped on the floor. But even if it does, you're probably using acrylic paint. It can be easily cleaned up. So why would somebody want to host a paint party? Well, there's a couple of reasons. The very first paint party that I ever hosted, I did it for my friends and my family because my husband was deployed in the military and I was home with 2 little kids and I just needed friends. I needed somebody to come over and talk to me besides talking to a 2 and 4-year-old all day long. And so having people into my home made me feel like I wasn't in this alone, and made me feel like I had something to look forward to. And sometimes that's all we need. So it could be just gathering your friends together and getting everybody together to have a good time. But it could also mean that you're wanting to do this to start a business. Maybe, the economy's really rough right now and groceries have gotten crazy expensive and you've probably already got a full-time job and that's not enough. Maybe you need a little side hustle or something like that to help you out. And paint parties could be really great for that because you get to decide what you charge. You get to decide where it's at. You get to decide when it's at. And a lot of times getting another job would just tie you down to a dedicated schedule and you wouldn't have that much control over it. But with paint parties, you have 100% control. You decide when, you decide where, you decide how frequently, and you decide how much money you get to make. So you could be doing it for free or for a very low cost with friends, or you could be doing it and really making a profit with every paint party. Okay, so hopefully at this point I've convinced you to do a paint party. So now you're wondering, okay, well, what do I need? What supplies do I need? First, you're going to start with your project. It all stems from there. If you're doing a door hanger, you're going to need the wood blanks. Are you going to cut your own? Using like a template from our shop, you can trace it on the wood, cut it out yourself. If you're handy with a jigsaw, that's your lowest cost option. I would go that way. If you're not handy with power tools and you're like, I don't even want to do all that, you could either go to the local Hobby Lobby and find wood blanks to paint on, or you could go to shopdoorhangers.com. That's our shop. We have over 1,000 different designs for you to choose from, and they are already pre-cut with the design lasered on the surface. It's like paint by number. It makes it so simple. And we have a bulk discount. If you're ordering for, let's say, like 10 people or more, you can get a discount on how many wood blanks you're buying. So that's number 1, your wood blank. Number 2 would be your paint. Obviously, you're going to need paint. And so that may differ depending on the project. If you're painting snowmen, you're going to need a lot of white paint. If you're painting pumpkins, you're going to need a lot of orange. So look at the project you're painting, figure out what colors you're going to need. Try to keep it simple. Don't go overboard. I usually like to have, though, a couple of optional colors. So let's say we're painting a snowman and it has a scarf. And the colors on the example that you're painting are like turquoise and purple. For example, not everybody loves purple. They might want to do turquoise and pink, or they might want to not do turquoise at all. Maybe they want to do red. So maybe have just a couple of bottles that they can select a different color. But that's totally optional. You don't have to do that at all if you don't want to. If you want to keep it super simple, everybody paint it the same way. But honestly, part of the thing I love so much about paint parties is seeing how everybody paints theirs a little differently. It can be really inspiring. So that's the second thing, is paint. Number 3 would be your brushes. You don't need a ton of brushes. Each person maybe needs 3-4 brushes at most. You're going to need a larger brush that has, wide bristles. This is probably going to be for painting large areas or the background. You're probably going to need a smaller flat tip brush, about the width of your finger, about a 1/2 inch. And then you're at least probably going to need a round tip brush for doing tiny details. And so at least those 3 brushes are needed. Now, a lot of people really love to work with angle tip brushes. So if you have a few of those on hand, that can be helpful. But don't go out and buy a bunch of like really fancy brushes. Go to Walmart, buy those craft packs that have like 30 brushes in the pack. Buy a few of those, depending on how many guests you're going to have, and just divide them up. Everybody can share brushes. It's not a big deal. Okay, and then when it comes to the setup for your party, you're going to need tables, flat surfaces with some sort of covering. It can be like craft paper, like that roll of paper that you roll out, or it can be cheap plastic tablecloths, your choice. And then each person's station where they will sit and paint is going to need a cup that they're going to be able to like put some water in to rinse their brushes out. They're going to need a paper towel. So a cup, paper towel. They're going to need something to put the paint on. The cheapest option and probably the easiest option is going to be a foam plate. You can buy those in bulk at Walmart, Sam's Club, wherever. So that's what you're going to need at each person's station. Now, off to the side, I usually like to have another table set up with general supplies that anyone can use. That's where I'm going to set up my paint. I'm going to set up like paint pens, pencils, a ruler, maybe some painter's tape, stencils if I brought any. I'll bring like the string that we're going to use to hang the door hanger, and a staple gun so we can staple that string to the back of the project when we're done painting it. If you want to do bows at the party, that's where you would set up a ribbon station and make bows, but try to keep it super simple. If you want to do bows, but I would make them in advance and bring them to the party and then upsell the people at the party to those bows. Say like, if you want a bow for it, it's $5 extra or something. That way you've covered your material, you've covered your time, and you've also made a little extra money. The only other thing that I can think of that you might need is like a hairdryer or a heat gun. And I wouldn't have more than 2 of those at a party because a lot of times they can pull a lot of electricity and you don't want to blow a fuse in wherever you're set up. But having that on hand will allow customers who are, done with one part to go over and dry it and move on and keep painting. That way the party doesn't take hours and hours. Now, we didn't mention this in the beginning, but you're also going to want to pick a date and a time for this party and make sure your guests know when to arrive. Make sure they know not to wear super nice clothing. Bring an apron or wear old clothing just in case they get paint on their clothes. I mean, it can be washed out, but people usually panic when they get paint on their clothes. And then my best advice would be to collect payments in advance. Have them Venmo you or mail you a check or whatever means they want to pay you with, but collect that payment up front, because there's nothing more frustrating than preparing for a party of 10, 15 people and then showing up and like 4 of them didn't show up. And you feel like you've had all this expense and preparation in advance, and then things get in the way. People get sick, things happen. But my fallback plan has always been to take the payment up front. If the person does not come, then I tell them I will hold their project and they can paint it at another time at like a future party, or they can take it home and paint it at their leisure. And so people usually don't argue with me on that. So I think that's probably a really good policy to put in place. That there's no cancellations or refunds, but that we will save your project and allow you to paint on your own time. So that's the basics of setting up to host your first paint party. I hope you feel inspired and encouraged and feel a little lighter about planning this, because I know it can be a little scary, a little intimidating if you've never done it before. But you know what? With every party you do, you're going to learn something. And it doesn't have to go perfectly. My first party only had about 5 people there, and I learned a lot at that first party. A lot of things to try to do better next time, and a lot of things that I'll never do again. And so, don't feel like you have to get it right on the first party. Just laugh it off, Do the best you can, learn from it, move on, and then book another party. Have another party, and the next one will be even better than the last one. And again, if you need a design to choose from, go to shopdoorhangers.com. We've got lots to choose from over there. We also have blog posts about paint parties, so if you need more information than was given here, go check out those blog posts over on our website, and you can learn more about different kinds of paint parties. Maybe you're wanting to do a party for kids or a fundraiser or something like that. There's all kinds of information over on our website. Good luck and happy painting. I'll see you next time.